Hello again, everyone. We are off and running from the starting gate on a sunny Friday afternoon at Gulfstream Park. This is Gulfstream Today with Acacia Courtney, Jason Blewett. Delighted to have your company just 8 days out from Preakness 142.
Yes, it should be an exciting rendition. Of course, our Florida Derby winner, Always Dreaming, did go on to win the Kentucky Derby. Now just a quick turnaround in 2 weeks, but he's been getting settled at Pimlico, and from what we understand, doing very well there.
In the traditional stall and barn, housing the Kentucky Derby winner under the watchful eye of trainer Todd Pletcher and Always Dreaming, getting out and jogging last couple of mornings, and he's had uneventful mornings around that main track at Old Hilltop. There he is yesterday with exercise rider Nick Bush.
He is, and you'll see Todd Pletcher behind him, and then he does head out to the track. They did have him in the draw reins again, trying to keep his head down, keep him a bit more relaxed. I thought he was moving really nicely, though, on the muscle. Looks like he's in tip-top shape. Todd saying he's very pleased. And, of course, yet that Preakness on May 20th. 14 races, 10:30 first post, nice pick 5 and pick 4 guarantees.
And all reports, again, not to reiterate or belabor the point, but we are talking about the Florida Derby and Kentucky Derby champions, so we can do that. I hear the local clockers have been overly blown away just with the energy level of Always Dreaming. In fact, one of my buddies whose brother has been a clocker in Maryland for over 20 years says, I have never seen a Kentucky Derby winner train this energetic here at Pimlico just mere days after the first Saturday in May. Hard to believe what I'm seeing. So Always Dreaming clearly in tip-top shape, and that's the story as far as Ron Nicoletti yesterday. In fact, a winning Rainbow Six ticket for Ron, gave out his combination on Gulfstream Today, hit for just under $500. Now, if there's not a single winner in today's Rainbow Six, what's the guarantee tomorrow?
$300,000. So they made it through yesterday. There were no singles in the final leg, and if it's not hit today, then look for a nice guarantee tomorrow. And usually when we do have guarantees like that on those Saturday cards, they are bet way beyond that guarantee pool wager.
Nothing like a Saturday here at Gulfstream Park, and top-class racing throughout the country as well. We run 11 races tomorrow. First race post of 1:15. The forecast looks terrific, and in fact, just enjoying ourselves here outside the walking ring at Gulfstream Park as we give you a reminder that we want you to hop on over to GulfstreamPark.com and join in Friday's Beat the Expert. There's the man, the myth, the legend, the mayor of Gulfstream Park, Ron Nicoletti, who again, he's up today on Beat the Expert, and you could give Gulfstream Park a follow on both Facebook and Twitter. The big question, of course, Acacia, is how does Ron do in today's contest after giving out a winning Rainbow Pick 6?
I think he's cursed. That's what we have found, that if you have a good day before or after that Friday that you're up for Beat the Expert, you usually are cursed a bit on Beat the Expert day. But of course, we have our fingers crossed from Ron. I think that you're going to be up for Beat the Expert next week for the first time. We do it every Friday. It's a really fun contest. If you pick more winners, you could win one of those great polo shirts. So don't forget to join in if you think you can beat Ron.
Bounce. That might be the operative word today. We'll see if Ron bounces right over this state-of-the-art racetrack here in Hallandale Beach. As we, of course, turn the page here on Gulfstream Today, and a quick reminder, we're all about the friendly reminders here before the races start as far as the multi-race and super high-five wagering menu on the program. The first at around 1:15 will kick off that dollar rolling super high-five, and of course, you can't start the card without an early pick 5, and we'll get that with the group of 3 and up Filly Mare 12-5 claimers battling 5 furlongs on the turf in the first race. A bit later on, race number 4, in fact. How do you like that Rainbow Pick 6 carryover?
Really starting to build $138,000 plus. Don't forget, if it's not hit today, we'll have that good guarantee tomorrow. Just a 20-cent wager, and then we cap things off with the late pick 5, and I'll take a stab at that Rainbow 6, and Jason, you'll have the pick 5.
Yeah, we'll try to get lucky here. I, have not been giving out too many winning tickets, but I'm feeling good on this Friday, May the 12th. We are, of course, fast and firm. Another warm and sunny Friday afternoon in South Florida. Just again, glad you're with us here as we set sail and take a look at my early pick 5 ticket on the program today. It's a $27 play. We're going to single, and I like the horse a decent amount in race number 2. That is the 4 American Czar. I also had tinkered with singling the second time starting Rocky Strange in the 4th race, the first leg number A of the Rainbow Pick 6, but ultimately used the number 5 Bal Harbor as well, as that horse debuts for the Pletcher Barn, and then using a couple races, in fact 3 with a 3-bagger and 2 in leg number 4. But anyway, more on that in a few moments. We'll move on to the first race here as we head to the turf course. The aforementioned 12-5 3-up Filly Mare Claimers ready to roll. Field of 7 set the battle here. You could take out the outside runner on a card that had very few scratches. Those that entered showed up to play. And speaking of playing, we've seen quite a bit of good work lately from trainer Armando de la Cerda, who sends out the likely favorite. And my top pick, the number 5, Goodbye Sorrow.
And she's on paper certainly the one to beat. She's a tough 5-year-old mare. I think that it does actually give her some significant class relief. She's been knocking on the door in her last 4 starts since she did ship down to Florida and move into Armando's barn. He does do an excellent job, Tyler Gaffalione in the saddle. And she was 3rd behind Scuba Sue last time, a horse that's just been kind of a star at that 5 furlong on the turf distance. So I think no shame in that. She is the one to beat. I just did like Keeker off that last race.
And she does indeed. Goodbye Sorrow pick up Tyler, as you mentioned, looking for his meet-leading 40th win of this spring-summer meet here with the Midwest Thoroughbred Silks on his back. But she does, and I like the class relief that you noted as well, and ultimately that was the deciding factor in picking the 5, Goodbye Sorrow. But any way you slice it, Keeker ran really well in her last race towards the end of April. In fact, we'll backtrack to April 26th, the 5th race on that card, where she had a very good trip, and we've got her highlighted basically sitting the pocket. Things get really tight, though, once they turn for home.
She does. She actually tried to go up the rail, and we'll see her there. She kind of loses her footing a little bit, and then she's really tight along the rail again, as you said. I thought it was amazing that she actually came back as much as she did after being put in a compromising position. Yeah,
no question. She should, as far as her trip is concerned today, I think pull a comparable sort of scenario where you've got the 4 horse, Goodbye Sorrow, and perhaps the number 6, Indominus, mixing it up in another stalking trip there from post number 2 with Keeker as Ramsey Zimmerman rides. So 2-5, 5-2 for Acacia and myself in race number 1. We'll head to the main track. We'll turn the page. We come up on a group of 3-year-old restricted $35,000 to $25,000 claimers. All about the rematch. I think no matter who you like in here, the real race to sort of pivot off of happens to be the group of horses coming out of the second half of the early double back on April 21st. Flying to Honor was in that race. He was the big even money favorite. He could not hold off a hard chasing Hail to Victory.
Yes, Hail to Victory really did I think, pull the upset that day at a big price of 14-1. Big performance from both of them, though.
Yeah, they ran well. Now, the thing with Hail to Victory is the fact that you got nearly 15-1. You're not going to get as big a price today, and he's still likely, even though he was good enough to outgame and outfinish Flying to Honor, he's still going to pull a pretty taxing trip. I want to see another one out of him. And then in the case of Flying to Honor, he's got to deal with that crummy inside post, and he's potentially really going to have to work hard from down in there. Where Promeet, the number 2 to his outside, and Hail to Victory. I think this race, especially going 7, sets up for an off-the-pace runner, and I'm hoping we have one in the turnback American Czar, who does step up in claiming price, but he does so after running against older horses and finishing a good second. I've liked his 2 dirt races, even though they've been against slightly lesser competition off that trainer change, the Saffie Joseph Jr. And this seems like one of these Saffie trained horses that won't be overbet. I think, don't know about the 6-1 on the line, but American Czar likely won't go favorite. I'm going to take him to pick up the pieces.
And you can certainly get that at a better price. Anytime you can get a horse from Saffie's barn at a little bit of a better price, it is worth noting he was bet down as a heavy favorite in his first start with this barn. That was after the trainer switch and some time off. He just showed up looking like a healthy, really fit horse that needed that time when he did get that win a couple starts back. But I don't really like the step up in distance. I the step up in class rather, I am a little bit concerned about the turn back, though I do think tactically it should help him as well. I went for the closer on the outside, who certainly has his own fair share of questions in the 6 Vencedor. I like the jockey change to Tyler Gaffleone, and last time out he actually ran a pretty good race at this level behind Legacy Azteca, another horse from the Safi Joseph Jr. barn who just kind of found his home and found his winning stride, so I'll give him another shot here.
Well, his race 2 back, I'm curious to hear your opinion. He was against Hail to Victory, Flying to Honor. He was 9-5 in that race and did not lift a hoof. Was it just one of those days where he didn't show up?
I think he didn't show up because if you look at his race a few starts back at the end of March 24th, he actually ran solidly. Now, he's been knocking at the door. He hasn't won since Gulfstream Park West where he wired the field, but I think that's typical of that. I think he can sit a good stalking trip from the outside, get in a good pocket, and I just think that he's a horse. Sometimes we see them from the Sano barn that maybe just take a little while to get going, and it looked like that race I saw a little bit more of the promise than I had a few starts back.
All right, Tyler, back aboard from the outside post in the second race as we get back on the grass for Friday's third here at Gulfstream Park. $30,000 to $25,000. The tags 3 and up. It's a very difficult 6-horse field. Compact field on the turf, going 2 turns. It goes without saying almost, but I do think this is going to boil down to a trip and, with that statement, a jockey's race, so to speak, goes right alongside trip and racing luck. It's just that kind of group where I had a tough time making heads or tails of the field. And one of the real problems is the horse to beat, the number 5, Amen Alley, who you picked on top and I've got third, has not been out since basically mid-February of 2016.
It's been a long time between drinks. If you look just at Beyer speed figures, this horse looks to be the class. He has some speed as well, but he hasn't run, as you said, in a long time. And that last win did come on the dirt, so he's got his questions, but I don't like at all the number 2, Toast the Kitten, and maybe I'm just here talking him into the winner's circle, but looking at an alternative, we'll show a stat as well on trainer Mark Cassie, 180-plus day layoff going from dirt to turf, and this is over the past 5 years. It's a good sample size and strong percentages, so this is what gave me a little bit more confidence putting this horse on top. 22% win, a nearly even ROI. Probably will take some money just off of the connections, but I did go with one I thought had the class.
All right, and you don't like my top pick. We'll see the number 2, Toast the Kitten, who I actually like this horse's last race, obviously against much lesser, picked up out of the claim box in this one's last start on April 29th, a race we will pick up turning for home. Very easy to spot towards the back of the pack. We've got, thanks to the guys in the control room, highlighted there in the white and red of the Ramsey Silks. This one will swing wide, put in a very strong and sustained 6-wide run, only to fall a half ahead, a neck short at the finish line. I am watching, I'm sure quite a few people are as well, as the Ramseys said earlier in the season, if not towards the end of 2016. They're looking to downsize, and although this horse was far from a superstar, maybe worth more than the $10,000 that they ran him for with previous trainer Wesley Warren. I'm going to just take Toast the Kitten, who can find himself, I think, going 2 turns. He's a bit more tactical and handy than he showed last time out at 7.5 when he was way far off the pace.
That's certainly fair. He did come from far off the pace last time, and I thought that he actually did have plenty of pace to run at, and that's the question of why I didn't really like him on top in here. Maybe I was a little bit aggressive, just completely tossing him out of my top 4, but I thought with the step up in class to this level, maybe fits somewhere in between where he ran last time and what he'll be facing today. But he was beaten in neck last time. His last win did come on the synthetic, his maiden victory by disqualification behind Whiskey Train, who we haven't really seen anything spectacular from since. So I have my fair share of questions about him. Hopefully going the 2 turns again with that step up, he does sit a little bit closer and not hang at the end.
All right, fair enough. Love Conquers, the 1 is in the mix, and your second horse, the number 4, More Alex, certainly has a chance. It's a very difficult third race. Again, it really hinges, I guess, on Amen Alley off that year-plus layoff. You'll certainly fill us in as Mark Cassie's had a good week with a multiple winning week at Gulfstream Park, and I'm anxious to hear what you have to say about Amen Alley out here in the walking ring when you join Ron and myself a bit later. On to the 4th race after, little teaser. It's a quick time out here on Gulfstream today. We've got the 2-year-olds ready to roll in race number 4, and we'll be back to talk about it shortly.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve. Give bettors the information they need to win and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
Six minutes out from race number 1 on a sunny and sun-drenched Friday afternoon at historic and beautiful Gulfstream Park. Acacia and Jason, happy to have you back with us on this live Friday edition of Gulfstream today. And in a way, I think we start the Rainbow Six with that carryover of just under $140,000 with perhaps the most intriguing race on today's card because it's for the two-year-olds, two-year-old Colts and Geldings going 4.5 on the main track.
And I was saying to you in our commercial, I love when the Rainbow Six starts right here because you get a chance to look at those two-year-olds in the walking ring before you put your ticket together, but we'll give you a look at mine. I did use 3 horses to start things off in here, one with experience and 2 first-time starters. So we'll take Rocky Strange plus a Bal Harbor and Always a Dreamer. Not always dreaming, always a dreamer. And my single will come with 2-Step Blues in the 5th race. Thought he could be the lone speed, trying to keep it affordable. Spreading with 4 in the 6th, 3, 2, and 3, 43-20.
I like that you used the stroll firster here in race number 4 on the dirt for Phil Gleaves. That's the 2, Always a Dreamer. And I like what I've seen so far from jockey Luca Panici, who's got the call from post number 2 in a race certainly dominated as far as numbers go by first-time starters. But you do have the one with experience, and it was a good effort first time out, one we are going to take a look at on April 20th, the number 8 Rocky Strange, who in his debut was the number 6. Did you like the trip this horse was getting if you bet him at this point of the race?
Yeah, it seemed like it was really going to set up with him because those top 2 were really knocking heads. It was a really strong race of the top 2, Slacks, of course, and the Chamo. Looked like Rocky Strange closing with good energy. He certainly could improve second time.
And that's the whole thing. If none of these firsters show up with a good effort, he takes a step forward off a very green stretch run, clearly on that inside lead in his debut for trainer Stanley Gold. He may have just landed in the right kind of spot. I do think a good firster, one that's cranked up and ready to roll, that has a little bit of quality, could give the 8 Rocky Strange, even though I picked them major fits today. And of course, looking at this race on paper, the firster, logically speaking, that you would expect to be pretty live is the number 5 Bal Harbor, who debuts for trainer Todd Pletcher here as a colt by First Samurai.
He is, and I want to backtrack to Rocky Strange quickly for one moment, show a stat on Stanley Gold with 2-year-olds in the past 5 years making their second start in maiden special weight. It's just 11% win, and it's a negative ROI. So that was the reason I took a little bit of a step back too. And you're absolutely right about Bal Harbor being ready to roll. Now, he does have 3 winning siblings. The mare has produced pretty well. She is a stakes winner as well. One won first time out, and the other 2 won in their second start. So pretty precocious on the bottom side, and he is kin to a multiple stakes place horse too. So I do like him on top in here, just going with the connections. But talking about that stroll firster.
Yeah, let me know. I want to hear this.
I was really into this work tab. You mentioned Luca Panici. Phil Gleaves does actually have a pretty solid record with some 2-year-olds. He's had 3 winners over the past 5 years with 2-year-old first-time starters. So we'll see if that one kind of cranked up on the work tab can run.
Curious to see if he's bet against both the Pletcher firster and the 8 Rocky Strange. And we'd be remiss not to mention Cantharos, who's done a good job as a young stallion. I believe he passed away a little too soon. May have passed away last summer, if my memory's correct. But he's got 3 firsters in the 4th race today. And of course, we are coming out of a 2-year-old season in 2016 locally in South Florida that produced a couple of stars in 3 Rules and Gunnevera.
Absolutely, and we certainly could see some nice runners again. And Cantharos is just talking about his record with 2-year-olds in maiden special weight. He's about 23% win, so he's done very, very well with younger horses.
All right, we hope to do very, very, very well in today's late pick 5 that gets underway in the 5th race on a fast and firm Friday at Gulfstream Park. The opening leg in a real crossroads again on this 9-race card. As the 5th ends, the early 5, it begins the late pick 5, and I'll have a ticket up here. We went $27 worth of plays and spreading in the early one. A little cheaper here at $18 with a couple of singles. In the 6th, I'm going to single Ralph Nix, who I've stopped cold since I arrived in Florida with the number 2 Entangled. And in race number 8, Nick the Card Shark, who I'm hoping wins his 3rd consecutive race and stays unbeaten. We'll use 3 here, and I'm very encouraged, even though he'll likely be a short price, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if the 3 Two-Step Blues was favored, but you're pretty bullish on this horse from post 3 with the blinkers off.
I am just going to take it. It's a speed play. As you say, sometimes you have to find those singles and try to keep your ticket a little bit more affordable, and I just thought he could be the main speed in here, being a little bit more last time out, she ran a solid race, I thought, and she was out-kicked by Lantis. Maybe the blinkers off will help her a little bit more follow-through, see her competition, and that was also dropping in class from State Bred Special Weight.
It's an easy game, isn't it? 3-6, 9-2. You heard it here, folks, and you heard it here first. Your cold super in the 5th for these maiden-claiming fillies and mares, as you and I obviously taking the speedy Two-Step Blues, who might have to deal with Otto Cinda. That horse worries me stretching out with the blinkers on inside a Two-Step Blues. But again, I think we've got the one to beat, and hopefully the right one. We've also clearly got the 6, Sister Drama, 2nd time out after a wide trip in her debut.
And getting a drop in class, plus adding the blinkers in here. Her full brother, Over Dramatic, pretty nice turf runner as well, so certainly some pedigree to predict that she will improve.
All right, 5 down, 4 to go on the Friday program here on Gulfstream today, as we have this group of 3-year-old Florida-bred maiden special weight runners. Field of 9, they're on the main track at 3/4. A rare scratch on the program, 30-1. In fact, on the morning line was the 3 Tour de Nickel. That horse is out. That leaves us again with a field of 9, and it leaves us talking about a Ralph Nix horse who I just think off the big improvement 2nd time out, and obviously we're noting the number 2 Entangled. He is just way the horse to beat here. Good trip aside, his last race I think probably beats everybody here.
I totally agree. He was chasing a wire-to-wire winner and driven by Thunder in that race. He was nicely settled and then actually re-rallied along the rail. So I thought it was a good performance from him when he was kind of waiting for room to chase that winner. Had a sharp work at the start of May. Since then, he's by Discreet Cat and just thinking he could be the one to move forward.
Now a stat here on Telling You Twice, who debuts for trainer David Fox. The knee-jerk reaction with a horse by Telling for me is, well, this horse probably wants to run on the turf, but what do you have with a horse who was breezing right along at Oaklawn?
Well, I found this stat and decided to show it here for David Fox. This is first-time starters on the dirt. Putting it down to the state-bred competition in here at the maiden special weight level, and he does very well. It's a limited sample size, but it's a good ROI. So I think if you have to watch the board. If you could get this firster by any sort of a price, this might be one to use perhaps a little bit more coverage in that Rainbow 6 or on those super effective, super high 5 wagers.
All right, Pedro Monterey Jr. with the mount. He's a perfect 2 for 2 riding for trainer David Fox, a Leblong homebred by Telling. It was a good one. Loved the Saratoga turf course. I believe won the Sword Dancer up there maybe a couple of times, maybe a decade or so ago. Telling a solid grass marathon runner. We'll see if he can pass on some of that talent to his first-time starter here in the 6th race. You got a firster as well. We could spend another minute on the race. The number 6 Archer Road, who goes out for Stanley Gold, who even though you weren't too crazy about taking Rocky Strange at a short price in the 4th race, he's got a few live horses on the card today.
He certainly does, and you see that work tabs, typical sharp Stanley Gold works coming into the race, 5 furlongs and 59 and 3, so you can imagine that this one will be coming to the track fit and cranked and ready to go by Leros de San Emo. Just thinking might another first-time starter to add in there. Then you have the one Blinding for Safi Joseph Jr. Added the Lasix last time out. Very rank on the backstretch last time and drifted a bit, kind of green, maybe just needed experience.
Yeah, we'll see. Not your typical Safi Joseph Jr. horse for predominantly a very blue-collar claiming barn. We'll see how he does a 3rd time out. And if you like Blinding today, you're certainly going to get higher than that most recent 9-5 price. Then there were 3 here on Gulfstream today. Acacia and myself will move right along with all the views. We have these 3 and up filly and mare, Florida bred, optional claimer runners, 2-turn mile on the turf course, and the Ralph Nix runner who's looking...
Aquemini.
Aquemini. And I watched the replay a couple of times, and I said, I know for some reason I'm going to screw up this name. But anyway...
Don't listen to what Ron tells you.
Aquemini. Yeah, it's all
Aquemini.
Ron's fault. She's looking for 3 in a row, and she was good last time out, which we'll show you.
She is, and going back to that race, I do think that she got that second win. She gets some class relief here. Talking about the name quickly, Aquarius and Gemini. Outcast reference.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like it. And you know what? This is a filly who's just improved her game steadily. Really, over the last 8 weeks or so, we're dealing with a better Aquemini than we were. And you can watch this big run, easily the biggest run put forth in this race back on April 12th. Of course, the water gets a bit deeper here. This is a bigger field. She's stepping up as a 3-year-old. She faces older runners for the first time. The hurdles are not insignificant here, even though I think she's the horse to beat with Tyler G.
I certainly agree with you that facing the older horses, and one that certainly had a lot of experience like that 5-year-old mare and Wild Chatter who comes out of that key race. Starship Jubilee has been in sensational form lately. She came back to win with an 85 by her speed figure.
She's good, by the way.
She is very good.
Yeah.
Very good since that layoff. And Whipsnade as well came back to win in the high 70s. So now third off the bench, she really could be one that's the main danger.
Yeah, I'm very encouraged that you've got her rated high up, because I originally looked at her last race on March 9th, and I said, she was a little lethargic early. She had a pretty good trip after that beneath Luca, where she was able to, save ground along the rail and never really fired. But the more I looked at that field, I was most impressed with Starship Jubilee, who just eviscerated that group and looked like a stakes horse. And the fact that there's been a couple of next out winners. And I'm hoping she pulls a good trip here, the number 7 Wild Chatter, and I'll take her in a turf race that is a difficult one for sure. In fact, races 7 and 9 are not easy legs to survive in both the Rainbow 6 and the late pick 5 as we get on to the 8th race. And I'm curious to hear what you have to say about the outside runner, the number 6, Nick the Card Sharp, because I asked you yesterday, did you take him? Because it looks like, with the fact that he's 2 for 2 and he should sit a good trip outside, he'll be a big favorite here. And you said, I'm picking against him. And why'd you do so?
I'm picking against him. I mean, look, there's nothing to knock about his 2 races so far. He has a lot of speed. He debuted at the maiden 25 level, and he blew the field away. He actually took the Rainbow 6 down with him that day.
Oh, he did?
Was a big price, and he was out there in the front. Nobody was going to catch him. And then he came back and won again. So I certainly do respect him. I just kind of wonder if he's going to just keep on winning.
And as we talk about Nick the Card Shark, we can show you the hand he was playing in his last start on April the 7th for trainer Angel Rodriguez, who's sitting at around 40% at the beginning of this spring-summer meet. This horse basically was the speed inside at even money, and easily won this race against a 3-year-old restricted competition. Things might be a little different this go-around, though. I think he's facing a little better in the quality department, and we'll learn if he can actually sit off horses doing so outside, as he likely will have the 3 Francesco Appeal and the number 5 Field Trip to deal with at some point down the backside.
And that was one of my questions about him as well. I did land on Francesco Appeal, though it's not without hesitation in here. Off of that big layoff, not a very common move for the Larry Pilati barn, but I loved the work tab. I thought that he's coming in very strong. He comes back at a level where he's been successful before. Granted, now he's off that layoff and making his first start of 2017 after being very precocious, finishing 3rd behind 3 Rules and the Bird on the Wire. So this is a test for him as well, to see if it was not just his precocity as a 2-year-old, that if he is actually able to back that up this year.
Yeah, very anxious to see how he runs, and some good points by you. Again, we'll have your expertise and your eyes filling us in out in the walking ring. There's a few very key layoff runners on today's card, and certainly Francesco Appeal is no exception to that. If things get hot and heavy going 3/4, and for whatever reason, Nick the Card Shark with the jump up in class and the fact that maybe he's taken those around him by surprise, considering he paid over $50 to win first out. The clock hits midnight today and he doesn't win, and this race melts down. Is Chatham the best closer?
Certainly could be. I thought that he ran a solid race last time. He's close from off of the pace strongly in his 2 races prior to that. Classic Rock has been in great form. There was no catching him last time, and he was a good second at a big price.
All right, let's wrap things up here. Race number 9. Couple of real wickedly tough turfers late in this Friday card at Gulfstream Park, and the 9th race certainly fits that statement as $30,000 to $25,000 3 and up filly and mare claiming horses end the day at a 2-turn mile and a 16th. We did have the 13 Bills Legacy draw in. This is an oversubscribed field, and it's a field a dozen to the max. There'll be a no vacancy sign on the starting gate here, and Pete Aiello late in the day will have a dozen. I'm sure his call will be fantastic, and I'm hoping as far as calls and trips go, things with the number 12 Alsterone are just a little more settled today as we can go back and check out this filly by Congrats in her last start at April 7th, where she was able to save ground around the first turn, and we could just roll the tape from the starting gate here. She was very keen early on, and after losing ground around the second turn, all in all, I really like the effort here for trainer Sandra Slivka. Of course, the big question with Alsterone, and if you like somebody towards the outside, it's the bad post today.
It is a tough post, and a mile and a 16th is not as bad as the 1-turn mile or the 7.5 furlongs, even when it's so short into that first turn. I do think that she's a filly you have to respect. I think Sandra Slivka does great work.
And you can watch her, not to cut you off,
no,
but clearly throwing her head, she wasn't happy there. Down the backside, though, she settled beneath Luca Panici, who's not aboard today. She'll be ridden by Amisael Jaramillo.
And she was a little bit keen there. As you said, I thought that she did close with some good interest, so maybe if she can sit back a little bit from that outside post, she might be able to get a trip outside.
All right, down towards the inside, Quebec, who I thought might take a step forward here, second off the claim for Oscar Gonzalez, a barn I'm not familiar with, but this horse had run pretty well on the turf for trainer Nick Zito. And then you've got Sistine Sista, who you've got on top with Edgar Zayas, a good post and some early speed. Did that sway you in the direction of her?
That is what did sway me. And we'll show a stat on Angel Rodriguez as well on the turf, going a route race in the mid-level, claiming at Gulfstream, 18% win. It is a negative ROI. I do expect this filly to take some money, but she took a drop in class to get her win, but she showed a lot more speed when she switched to this barn.
All right, an 18% move in a cash out in the Rainbow Pick 6. How many did you use in the nightcap?
In the nightcap, I used 3.
3.
Yeah,
okay.
want some coverage.
It's a tough one. We'll talk about it throughout the day as we catch up with the mayor of Gulfstream, Ron Nicoletti, and 30 minutes to race 1 at 1:15. It is now time, and we hate saying goodbye, but we'll be back. Pete Aiello is up next with a reprise of Friday's Scratches and Changes.